Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Arrow R20. This is a replacement latch bolt is what this is. I can tell that this is a 2 3/8 latch bolt. It has this sleeve over it, which allows the latch bolt to sit more firmly inside of the hole. When you've drilled a 1-inch hole, is what the roll of that is. If you've drilled a 15/16 or a 7/8 hole, you wouldn't use that. This is a listed product. It's also labeled. It's listed, meaning the testing laboratory, in this case UL, Underwriters Laboratory, has at some point tested this and found it to be compliant with fire-rated applications. It's also labeled, which means it bears visual proof of that testing and that listing. It's also on the face of the latch bolt, which is nice because if you're doing a fire door assembly inspection audit, you don't have to remove the hardware to see that it has the UL mark on it. It also has a capital letter F. You will find lowercase f's and capital letter F's. Lowercase f's are neutral pressure. Uppercase F is a positive pressure indication. Fun fact. This is 2 1/4 tall. Okay, it's 1 inch wide, and 1 inch wide and 2 3/8 back set very much go together. It's pretty uncommon to find an 1 1/8 wide 2 3/8. Did I say 1 3/8? Whatever. 2 3/8 back set are going to be almost 1 inch wide. 1 1/8 wide, you're looking at 2 3/4. Nowhere on here does this measure 2 3/8. The back set, which is what that is a reference from the edge of the door to the center of the hole. So if that hole is 2 1/8, we should be about an inch and 5/16 is what that should measure to the back of the barrel, and it basically does. Okay, this is a deadlocking latch, which means it's used on those applications that require a deadlocking latch, which would be, in fact, anything keyed would always have a deadlocking latch. An exit lock, which is not keyed but is an exterior application, would have a deadlocking latch. You can install deadlocking latches on passage or privacy sets, but because there's no security over it, they're just a spring latch. The role of the deadlocking latch is when it's properly installed, that will be retained in the retracted position when the latch is in the strike, preventing someone from lloyding the latch. I can't push that in, but when it's not properly installed, I can push it in. Will come with a couple of screws. The 3 in the part number stands for polished brass. That's what this is. Okay. Now, let's switch to the screen view now and take a closer look at the supporting documentation. Here is the item that we are indeed looking at. Not too much to see here, but let's go right to the manufacturer's link here. This is for the Mlx and Rlx. That's going to be a reference to their lock series. So let's click on that. Let's pull up the product catalog here. This part number was R20, so we can do a find function on our keyboard for R20. I don't know that I would expect to actually find it listed. Unfortunately, I see the Arrow catalog is both quite out of date and a bit anemic in having all of the data that I'd like to see in a catalog. For instance, they don't even have an R20 listed in the 2014 catalog, which in 2020 is the most current book we have. You see what I'm saying? We're in the Mlx section, which they say this works with, but they don't list a 2 3/8 latch bolt for this. The Rlx, again, not listed in the catalog, which is awfully strange. Now, what happens generally is you'll find information in the price list, and the price lists are pretty up to date. So as I fire up the price list, we'll do a find function for R20, and we'll indeed find it listed here, and other series actually that it's compatible in. So it shows up as an Rlx option, it shows up as a QL option, as an HK option, and then an Mlx option. Alternate 2 3/8 back set 1-inch front, sold as separate part, sold only as separate part. R20, which, I've never encountered a lock manufacturer who won't supply you with a 2 3/8 latch at a no-charge substitution. Arrow clearly does it that way. So if you need 2 3/8 and you're ordering a new Arrow lock, you'll be ordering technically 3 line items. The lock, the cylinder, if there's a cylinder involved, would be a second line item on its own, and then a 2 3/8 latch. Use only with keyed functions. So there could be something about the non-keyed functions that are not compatible with a guarded or a deadlocking style. So be mindful. They're literally telling you not to use this with a spring latch, a privacy or a passage, or an exit lock for that matter, if they even make an exit lock in those series of locks, which they probably don't, would be my guess. Yeah, they don't. Passage, single dummy, privacy, entrance, office, storeroom, classroom, and then asylum. Yeah, so that's my, I'm partial to Arrow because I am familiar with the product line, and, being from Chicago, if it's not a Schlage lock, it's very likely an Arrow lock that your customer's coming in with, so they're really everywhere. But you'll notice that sometimes you really need the price list to go along with the product catalog to find all of the options. Speaking of this page here, you can review all of the Arrow products we sell by means of this horizontal navigation, a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the product catalog and price list. Let's wrap up this video on camera. Now, in conclusion, there's a little bit of a lesser-known fact about Arrow. When it comes to discussing with them their keying systems, it's my understanding that it's the Medico keying department that handles keying inquiries for Arrow. What that means, at least to me, is that you're getting support from Medico, who owns the majority of all North American business when it comes to high-security cylinders. I'm inferring by that is if they have the caliber of tech support in the keying department to handle the majority of North American high-security cylinder work, they'll be able to answer my questions when it comes to an Arrow keyway. I have called Arrow/Medico a couple times on questions with Arrow keyways, and unfortunately there are just instances where the factory has said, I don't have that paperwork. We don't know where it is. So if I ask a question on a multiplex system or some really unusual Arrow keyway, I have found that the factory does not necessarily have that data. And if you're a locksmith and you're already very accustomed to playing detective in a lot of instances, unfortunately so does Medico when it comes to Arrow keyways, it seems. If you have any questions on the R20 and the US 3 finish or any other Arrow product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.